Everybody, it's Pandy. I'm playing World of Tanks. I want to wish everyone within the United States that they had a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving. I know I did. I spent some quality time with family and friends, ate a lot of food, and feel as though I ate about 20 pounds worth of it. I feel fatter than ever, and hopefully soon I'll be taking a giant dump so I can fit into these pants more better. I just feel like, oh, the food was good, everything was delicious, and a good deuce will just pretty much end everything on a solid note. So, minus talking about taking dumps and having my pants fit better, I want to go ahead and talk about the E-50 medium tank within World of Tanks. As you guys know, it never reached production, but I want to just talk about like kind of the theory on why they wanted to do it, kind of like the history behind the development, which isn't much, but I'll talk about it. It was decided at some point that the Panther tank was just simply too costly in the form of production and field maintenance to make it worthwhile while only carried a 75mm main gun. The 88mm and 85mm were making huge gains on the battlefield, so they needed something bigger to pretty much continue to compete with the medium tank field of fields. It was found that the torsion bar suspension was just simply too difficult and costly to make. With factories under around-the-clock bombing, something simple was needed to be engineered to allow for higher production numbers so they can keep up with the war. The theory behind the E-series of tanks was that they were to be a universal form of tanks, allowing for greater numbers of production. With the success of the new bogey steel-rimmed rubber-saving wheels for the Tigers 2s, they found that they saved more material overall, so because material was becoming harder to find, the hardened steel that I was talking about, which is becoming rarer and rarer as the war kept on raging, they needed something to be able to save money and build more. New suspension unit was designed by man, a newer and smaller unit taking a better load and easier to produce. On paper, the lessons learned from the American Sherman tank suspension was that none of the components should be handled once they're on the field. They want to make sure when it's out there it works without issues. They found that by straddling the wheels and having some spacers in between made them a lot easier to replace or pretty much maintain. In turn, making things easier to replace and to maintain, the theory is any damage done to the tanks or any mines that happens to blow up near the tank, this would allow quicker turnaround time to allow the tanks to get back into combat operations. Simply by unbolting it and replacing it, it makes it just simply that much easier on the maintenance crew, and you don't actually need as many maintenance crew members to do that, freeing up more men for the fight. Now the Panther tank, on the other hand, needed pretty much a cutting torch to remove any damaged units, replace them, and then pretty much remove the inner relieved wheels to make these replacements. This takes a lot of time and manpower just simply to replace a torsion bar or suspension system, where you can actually just unbolt it on the new series of tanks, which were the E-series. Theory was the E-50 compared to the Panther tank in regards to the wheels, torsion bar suspension, and also just the suspension overall would have reduced overall time of labor by 40%, material and tooling costs by 60%, and reduced the overall weight of the entire system by 50%. The E-50 itself was to be longer than the Panther tank and practically the same length and size as the Tiger II in regards to dimensions. The only real difference is the glass shield plate, which happens to be a new design to allow for better deflections and less trap shots. A lot of times what the Allied tanks will do is they'll just shoot the ground right underneath the tank just in the hopes that the round will bounce up, taking out the weaker underneath armor. The larger hull along with the newer turret would have given the E-50 kind of like one of those pin-headed appearances. It would have been harder to shoot because the turret was so skinny and rounded. Well, not really rounded, but just it would have appeared rounded to the enemy. Now the theory again was to allow the E-50 and the E-75 to be identical in overall shape and size, using the same gun, ammunition, stowage, and overall internal layout to be identical. This will allow for easier training where you can simply train someone on the E-50 if you wanted to. And if you needed some crew members for an E-75, you can just simply throw them into the other one. It's just different in regards to speed and armor. Now the major difference between the two would have been the E-75 would have been the heavier tank, the thicker armor with more protection, while the E-50 was pretty much the medium main battle tank standard that they were aiming for. Now all the designs never came to fruit as Germany surrendered before any prototypes were completed. The engineering behind the E-50 did not die with the Third Reich. French tank designs used a lot of the ideas from the Panthers and E-50s in their designs for the AMX-50 series. It used the basic torsion bar suspension overlapping road wheels like the King King Tiger, but the rear drive and engine designs were borrowed from the E-50. Not surprising, since the French used a lot of Panther tanks in their pre-war armed forces till the late 40s, so the E-50 design never truly died, it just got modified. Now in World of Tanks, the E-50 is the boss. The firepower in the E-50 is balanced compared to the rest of the medium tanks in World of Tanks. It has the best accuracy, aiming time, and penetration of any other gun for the medium line, but it has the lowest rate of fire possible if you compare it to the other tier 9 guns. The main gun does make quick work of any tier 7 or 8 heavy tanks. It's actually in many respects better than the 105mm long gun that comes with the King Tiger. I'm a highly satisfied customer when it comes to the E-50's main gun, and highly wowed as soon as I got it. I'm like, ah! The armor on the E-50 simply impresses me behind the words that I'm trying to say to you folks. It is the best possible armor when it comes to overall protection for any of the medium tanks. The values of the armor might be the same as the T-54, but when it comes to the frontal though, it is overall better because it's better slope. It was just simply more effective or better. It does have a larger glass shield plate, but when it comes to the angle that the glass shield plate is, it's actually more deflective than what the T-54 comes with. Now, the turret itself is smaller, making the E-50 harder to shoot when you're firing at it from long ranges, especially if this tank happens to be in a haul down type position. You're not going to get as many deflections as you would say off the Patton's upgraded turret when it comes to this, but it is effective nevertheless. When it comes to taking a shot right to the face, the T-54 does have the E-50 beat in that area, and the likelihood of getting a shot to the face is not very likely, but it will have it beat. When it comes overall, the E-50's armor is the best in my opinion in regards to all the other tier 9 medium tanks. This is a very fitting German tier 9 medium since the disappointing Panther II. The Panther II is damn good as a tier 8, but it simply was terrible as a tier 9. Now the mobility on the E-50 is worse compared to the rest of the tier 9 medium tanks. Granted, it is faster than the other two, but it simply doesn't have the turning rate compared to the other medium tanks. Doing that circle of death around other heavy tanks is not practical for this tank. It doesn't really pick up and go like those medium tanks, so it kind of has that heavy tank feel to it. The size of the tank doesn't help anyone when it comes to simply being a bigger target for other tanks, making you better prey for the artillery. So when you play this tank, you want to play it kind of like a heavy tank, but not, because you're a medium tank. You don't really have the armor or hit points to absorb all those shots. But you got to play it kind of like it. You don't want to like really take, shots like a heavy tank would be, but in some cases you just simply perform like one, so you got to perform as if you were one. Now overall, the E-50 is the boss. E-50 has a healthy balance, making it a very capable tier 9 medium tank. It is very easily a tier 8 heavy tank if you really want to think about it. It kind of feels like the King Tiger when I happen to be playing it, but it has more speed and a slightly better gun. In terms of being a medium tank, it happens to be the most fun and enjoyable tank that I happen to have. It is extremely suited to be a sniper at long range or a brawler up close. However you plan on using it, the E-50 is a very well-rounded medium tank worth the time and effort to get the sumbitch. Now we're at that part of the video where I get to give you guys a chance to buy some War of the Tanks gold. What I got for you is a $20 ultimate game card worth 2,000 points on Playspan to be given out on December 2nd. This said card can simply be used for the US or European or Russian servers. Just need to make sure you do that conversions for 2,000 points on Playspan. To win said card, you must be A, be subscribed to my channel, and B, place a comment or a video response down below, maybe about the question of the video, which is your most favorite tactic for any of the medium tanks in World of Tanks? Me, I use medium tanks as a counterweight. If there's a hole in our lines, I am there. If there's a hole in the enemy lines, I am there. If the artillery needs scouting, guess where I'm going to be? I'm going to be there. If any scouting needs doing, I am doing it. Medium tanks at the tier 9 level are really a little bit of everything. Scout, hunter, wannabe heavy tank facing off against tier 7s, drive-by widowmaker. Whatever it is, it does. Now, I appreciate you guys watching. I had a good time making this one, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Like I said, I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys have a good holidays and Thanksgiving or whatever. With Black Friday going on, I'm just simply trying to be held up. I'm trying to do my ×5 doubles. So, hopefully you guys are getting it on. I am. So you guys take it easy. I am Pandy, and you guys, good hunting.